Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, welcome again to ITV Gold. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. I hope you're doing well.
It's a busy day, but I'm delighted to join you.
Yes, definitely. It's a very busy day at the Capitol Hill, so let's go right into it. I have a couple of questions. I'm going to try to get through as many as possible. First question to you has to be about what is happening at the Supreme Court right now. They're deciding on a case on abortion in Mississippi as we speak. You have already spoken on it at the House already. I'd like to know, how are you looking at this entire situation, and how dangerous is this, this decision for Roe v. Wade?
Well, I will tell you, there's a lot of activity. The members of Congress gathered on the steps of the Congress and marched over to the Supreme Court. There were many advocates for choice and others against choice, and many were the color they used was yellow, and the chant was "Liberate abortion everywhere." Earlier today, the Supreme Court heard a case challenging Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban, and they had the oral arguments. The state of Mississippi is trying to turn over the 58-year precedent of it's 48 years. It's been, can you believe it? 48 years. People were wearing caps saying 1973, yes, which was the year of the abortion case, and they've been asked. They were asking the court to overturn this precedent. But I want to point out that if they did that, over 36 million people in 26 states would immediately be deprived of the right to an abortion, the right to choose. These restrictions, I would say, mostly harm people that are poor, people of color, young people. And earlier this year, in anticipation of this decision that was going to take place before the Supreme Court, we passed the Women's Health Protection Act, which would establish a statutory right to abortion care across the country. So we are pushing that, and that needs to pass the Senate. It passed the House, but it hasn't passed the Senate. Yeah. And all people should have the right to make their own decisions about their bodies. And I would say that there is no democracy if women can't make their own health decisions and decisions about their own body. Yeah. So it's a very serious decision. And we will hear from the Supreme Court probably this summer.
Yes, and Congresswoman, you have tweeted actually saying we must enshrine Roe into law. What would that do for women of this country if that happens?
Well, if we had it in law, then it would protect them. And as I said, we passed the Women's Health Protection Act, which would establish a statutory right to abortion care across our country. They would leave it up to the states, or that's what they think. If they overturned it, they'll leave it up to the states. So the state that I reside in New York, is a safe haven. We will have abortion rights there. But there are 26 states that do not have the right to an abortion now, and that would immediately, or their states, they've passed laws that if Roe is overturned, then they will uphold that law in their state.
Just quickly following up on that, Congresswoman, what do you say to leaders and governors and other officials that are trying to challenge Roe v. Wade, and most of them are men? How does that make you feel?
Well, you're absolutely right. Most of them are men, and it's very unfair to women. As I said, I don't believe there is a democracy if women cannot make choices about their own health care or choices about their bodies.
Yes, definitely. Congresswoman, now I'd like to talk to you about what's happening with COVID. I have to ask you about the concern that we're seeing across the nation and across the world on Omicron. I'd like to know, I'm sure you must have spoken to the president by now. How is he handling the situation? What is the brief that's been given to you? What could you share with us in that regards? How can we perhaps calm the public down a little bit?
Well, we have a solution. It's called vaccinations and wearing our masks. And scientists say that is the best way to prevent getting COVID. There are always going to be variants. There apparently is a variant now from South Africa. It has not been noticed in America yet, although it may be here. But we have protections, and that is wearing our masks and vaccinations. Now, and everyone over the age of 18 can get a vaccination, and some children. And there is a booster, even for everyone over 18 years old. So that should be taking place. One thing that the Biden administration has done that I think is extremely important, they have made the vaccinations available for free to all of our people across America. And they have made testing for free and monitoring. So everyone should be testing. Their sites all over my district. They must be all over the country. These are free. You can be tested and you can be vaccinated, and that's what people should do.
Right. You know, the president also has said that it's important that we take a part in vaccinating the rest of the world to truly beat this pandemic, especially noting that these variants are not even coming from the United States. How important do you think that is, Congresswoman?
It's very important. We're one world. We need to take care of each other. And I know that we have been very active in sending vaccinations to India, to South Africa, also to Jamaica and the Caribbean and South Korea. So we're working very hard and trying to get out as many vaccinations across the world. We need to vaccinate the entire world, but we need to also vaccinate our own people.
Yes, that was so important. And again, vaccination is what we are always pushing on. The
Right.
healthcare and economy, Congresswoman, go hand in hand in this country. So I have to ask you, how are you looking at the current condition of the economy? We are seeing inflation. We're seeing very high gas prices. People are concerned. And there are still talks on this infrastructure bill that we're all looking forward to, the Build Back Better plan. What insight could you provide us? What should the South Asian population know?
Well, the economy is improving. We've created over 1.6 million jobs since Mr. Biden took office in January. That's the largest job growth in the history of our nation. So that is good. And although inflation is there, when we implement the infrastructure bill and the Build Back Better bill, they project that the inflation will go down. Our GDP is pretty high. It's now estimated to be at 5.5%. And so we've got the job growth, and unemployment is under 4%. So we're moving in the right direction by employing our people, and we're moving in the right direction with our infrastructure bill, which is going to help build back better America. And our Build Back Better is going to employ a lot of people and get a lot of money out for things that we need in housing and healthcare and education. This provides schooling across the nation for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, which is extraordinary. Monies for public housing, all kinds of monies to help. And very importantly, a lot of investment in greening our economy, greening our country, and combating climate change. Yeah. So all of that is in it. In the portion that I wrote in the bill, it takes the postal fleet, which is a fossil fuel fleet now with gas, and translates it and moves it to clean energy, to electric, and uses the postal offices across the nation as charging stations to get us off of polluting oil and on to clean energy.
Yes, definitely. Clean energy, the future, Congresswoman, right there. I would like to know what kind of resources do you think people should utilize, especially there are South Asian Americans from your office. And also when you're looking at the infrastructure plan or the Build Back Better plan, how do you think it's helping the South Asian American population of your district and of this country?
Well, it helps everybody in the country. It helps the South Asian community, but it helps everyone. It helps everyone by providing more jobs, cleaning up the air, providing free education for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. And you can go to my website for a bunch of ways to use resources. And you go to my website at maloney.house.gov. And I put out 2 weekly newsletters about COVID-19, the state of the economy, what we're doing in Congress, and you should go there. And also the in-depth information on President Biden's Build Back Better agenda. Visit White House website at whitehouse.gov. And these are 2 places you can get information. But when you talk about the South Asian community, I do want to mention that I'm very proud of having championed one of the most successful stamps in the history of our country, and that's the Diwali stamp.
Yes.
Let there be light, and we are in the period of light right now, and celebration of light over darkness, knowledge over lack of knowledge, good over evil. These are all very important. And I'm building on the stamp because I introduced a new bill that would create a Diwali holiday in our country. We have millions of Indian Americans, that it's very successful and diverse and energetic group of people in our country who celebrate Diwali, and it should be a national holiday too.
Yes, definitely. And I was just about to ask you questions on this, Congresswoman. I'd like to know this. I've always wanted to ask you this. Why India? You have, I feel, a little soft spot for India. I think you're a huge, representative for our community, especially in the New York area. But what is that about India that attracts you, that sort of, drives your passion to serve that community as well?
Well, I think that it's the fact that it's a democracy, and it happens to be the world's largest democracy. And America, we're very proud of our democracy, and we're proud of our diversity. We're proud of our freedom of religion, our institutions. And India has similar. They have a democracy. They elect their leaders. They have freedom of religion. They have many inclusive people from all around the world, and many different types of people in their country, just like America. And also, India has always been a very strong ally to America from our founding days. And it is also a group of immigrants that when they come to the country become very productive. They contribute. There are many in the medical field and in technology and in ways that grow our economy and take care of people. I guess it's respecting an ally, respecting a democracy, and really knowing historically how we have always worked together in a very positive way, our two countries.
Yes. Just two more questions left here for you, Congresswoman. I know you're very busy today. It's a busy day at the Hill. What do you see as the future of the relationship between India and the United States? What are the conversations you hear around you?
Well, I think we're always going forward. There's a lot of cooperation against terrorism, right, and working together for world peace and working together for world justice. Also, there's always a very strong economic bond between our two countries. India is a large trading partner to the United States. And I'd say the bond that is the strongest link is that we are two of the most successful democracies. And India can claim that they are the largest democracy in the entire world. And America can claim that we've been one of the first democracies in the world. And we have a joint goals and values. I thought it was very telling that President Obama, when he became president, the very first country that he invited to come to America for a state dinner was India.
Yeah.
And I think that was out of respect to the country. And I have within the district that I represent, the Indian consulate, the headquarters, the embassy is in my district. And we have worked together on the Diwali stamp and now the holiday stamp, and celebrate many of the holidays that we have together. So that is also a strong bond. And I even went to Howdy Modi.
Yes, that's true.
I went to Howdy Modi all the way to Houston.
Yes.
All the way to Houston to celebrate the Diwali stamp. Yes. He was very happy about the Diwali stamp and to celebrate that. And that was really quite moving because that was a celebration really of India. And there were many, many people there from all across the country. It wasn't just Houston. It was people from California and Nevada and just all the South, North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina. Everybody came together. It was really quite quite something to see.
Yes, definitely. It was one of the largest gatherings of Indian Americans we've seen in a while. You know, Congresswoman, I am wishing you the best with the Diwali bill. I really hope that you're able to make it a federal holiday because all of us would be so excited and thankful. My last question to you has to be, I would love to know what is your focus for the rest of the year, which is this month that's left, and what can we look forward to for the next year? What are your hopes, Congresswoman?
Well, I hope for peace and justice in the world. I'm working to help some women and families get to America from Afghanistan. We have a responsibility there. The economy, and economic growth and opportunity, and respect for science. I feel like the true heroes and heroines of this past pandemic have been the men and women in the medical field. We need to honor them and their sacrifice and really their contribution of coming up with a vaccination. Really, I hope that everybody in America gets vaccinated and that we can just stop this COVID virus from mutating and infecting other people. Every death is a tragedy because it can be prevented with vaccinations and with masks. So that has the healthcare of America and the world, as you pointed out. It's got to be the world. We have to think about each other and help each other in this respect. So I really hope for peace and justice. And one of my great inspirations is Gandhi.
Yes.
Gandhi was an incredible leader. He really taught peaceful leadership. And he was the hero of Martin Luther King and both Nelson Mandela, both heroes of mine. And they attributed their leadership to Gandhi, his peaceful movement forward and use of peaceful protests and working together towards goals. And another thing that I'm working on is that both Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela have received the highest award that can be given to anyone, and that's the Congressional Gold Medal. And they both received this. But when you read their writings, and in fact, when Martin Luther King was murdered, on his desk was a book on the teachings of Gandhi. He used to carry it in his pocket. And so I think it's long past due, since they've received the Congressional Gold Medal, that Gandhi should receive the Congressional Gold Medal. And I have that bill also out there, and I hope to pass it this year. So there's a lot of work to do. Unemployment is going down because people are getting these jobs, and it's really very, very important. And I think that combating this COVID virus has got to be our top priority, along with world peace. And we're off to a good start. The economy's improving under President Biden, and he's passed 3 important bills. And I'd like to work to translate those bills into people's lives, to get the money out of Washington into the educational system, into the transit system, and into the housing system to really help people. So that's a lot to do.
Well, you are one of the most progressive.
Happy holidays.
Yes, happy holidays.
Happy Diwali.
And happy Diwali. I was just about to say you're one of the most progressive teachers in this country. So it's so amazing to always hear you speak so highly on education, Congresswoman. Thank you so much today for your time on ITV Gold, and happy holidays to you.
And let there be light. Let there be light.